Welcome back with me, Melissa Ong. The recent assassination of Hamas political leader Yayha Sinwar has raised many questions about the future of Hamas leadership and the broader implications for the region. As tensions remain high and diplomatic efforts appear stalled, the path forward for both sides seems increasingly uncertain. Now, joining us today is Dr. Olsi, an assistant professor from the Department of History at the International Islamic University, Malaysia, to provide his insights on the assassinations of Yayha Sinwar. Hi, Dr. Olsi, good to see you again. And I'd like to begin with this. Now, how significant was Yayha Sinwar's in shaping Hamas political and military strategies, and how might his death impact the internal structure of the organization? Dr. Olsi.
Yayha Sinwar was a very important leader of Hamas. He was a veteran of Israeli prisons, somebody who had suffered for almost 21 years in Israeli jails, and somebody who knew the structure of this resistance movement. His assassination is a major setback for Hamas. But this is not the end of it, because Hamas is a popular-based resistance movement of Palestinians. And as we know from the recent polls that we have, is that almost the whole Palestinian situation supports Hamas. So the assassination of Yayha Sinwar is not the first nor the last. Israel has a history of assassinating Palestinian leaders, people from Ahmed Yassin to Abdelaziz Rantisi, Yasser Arafat, and others. But history has shown that Palestinians are going to bring new leaders. And what is most important is that Yayha Sinwar now, he has become a myth. He is celebrated in all the world, from China to Russia to Iran to the Arab Street, and even in the West. And his resistance and his brave death by facing the Israeli army has turned him into an inspiration.
Now, looking ahead, who do you believe might emerge as the next key leader within Hamas, and what shifts in strategy should we expect in the aftermath of Sinwar's death?
There are a number of Palestinian leaders who might succeed Sinwar. One of them can be Mahmoud al-Zahar, who is a very crucial leader of Hamas on reorganizing the resistance movement and the political wing of it. Another possible leader is Mohammed Sinwar, who is the brother of Yayha Sinwar, and he is believed to lead the military wing of the organization. Another person might be Musa Abu Marzouk, who he also have been one of the leaders of the organization and one of the veterans of it. Another possible leader can be Mohammed Deif, who is believed to be the commander of Izzeddin al-Qassam, which is the military wing of Hamas. Other leaders can be, for example, like Khalid Mashal, who presently he resides in Qatar, and so forth. So Hamas is not short of leaders. We have to see in the following days or weeks. For the time being, I don't think that Hamas can announce the name of its new leader for many reasons, but one of the most important reasons is that in this present moment, when Israel is following the policy of scorched earth in Gaza, the Israeli regime is bombing and killing every living being in Gaza. And the means of communication for us in the outside world to learn who will be the new leader are very difficult.
Right, those are just some of the examples they've given me. But, you know, with Qatar's Prime Minister recently stating that there have been no conversations or engagement for a ceasefire in Gaza over the past 3 to 4 weeks, what do you think this signals about the current diplomatic efforts? Also, how might this affect the future stability in the region? Dr. Olsi.
Well, so far we are seeing that the policies of the Israeli state are to exterminate the Palestinians. In this very moment that we're talking, north of Gaza is under a total Israeli military siege, where Palestinians are not allowed even to take their basic food or water. So the situation, like your images show here, show that Gaza is in an apocalyptic situation. We have to understand now that the moderate parties in the Middle East, like Qatar or a number of Arab governments who are trying to have a diplomatic solution, are not allowed. Unfortunately, nowadays, Israel is being led by a cult-like government. The people who had the extremist government of Benjamin Netanyahu, they are messianic Zionists. They believe in the coming of Messiah or Messiah, and they believe in the Armageddon. And as we can see what is happening at present, Israeli regime is bombing not only Gaza, not only West Bank, but they are bombing and massacring Lebanon and Syria as well. And there is an international fear that Israel might attempt to attack even Iran. The administration of Benjamin Netanyahu, they are pressuring the American administration to start a nuclear war with Iran. In Zionist prophecies, the Zionists, they believe that in order for their Zionist state to prevail over Muslims and Islam, they have to make an apocalyptic war, most probably a nuclear war, where they are going to annihilate their enemies, which in this case are their Arab, Muslim, and Christian neighbors. So the doors of negotiations have been closed, even though we have the American administration. We had the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who went to Israel yesterday, and the Americans are begging the Israelis to come to the negotiating table. They are telling to the Israelis that you got what you wanted. You have committed a genocide in Gaza. You have flattened Gaza. You have killed most of the leaders of the resistance. And now let's have a deal. But they don't want.
Now, Dr. Olsi, Israel is facing accusations of genocide at the International Court of Justice. How significant do you think this legal process could be in holding Israel accountable for its actions in Gaza? I know you mentioned earlier that Israel does not care, but what do you think about this?
Well, we live in a very problematic and difficult moment of world history. We're having two major conflicts being waged in the borders of Europe. One is in Ukraine and the other one is in the Mediterranean, in Lebanon, Palestine, and Syria. And as it happens, and as it happened during World War II or at the beginning of World War II, when Hitler was in power in Europe, he didn't care for the international law. Hitler went and he attacked and annexed Czechoslovakia, he annexed Austria, he attacked France, and he divided Poland with the Soviet Union. And what was happening on the eve of World War II in 1939 and 1940, there was power in Europe, which was Nazi Germany, which didn't care for the international law. At this very moment, the international law is coming into a major crisis. Why? Because we have the Israeli government that doesn't care for international institutions. It doesn't care for the ICJ. And on the other hand, Israel is very lucky because the Zionist lobby controls the United States. So we do not have a strong US government who is going to act and to tell to the Israeli regime, stop. While we know in the past that the Americans, they have broken sometimes the international law by entering and bombing Yugoslavia in 1999, or going and bombing Iraq in 2003, or invading Afghanistan in 2001. But in this moment, US presidents are very weak. I mean, American administration, even though they hate Netanyahu and they hate what Israel is doing. They cannot do anything. Why? Because the Zionist lobby is so powerful that they can remove any US president and administration if they do not obey to them.
Well, Dr. Elsie, we can talk on and on about this topic, and we have to invite you as a guest on set, but that's all the time we have now. Thanks for sharing your opinions. Thank you, Doc.